Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 809. My opponent started off with e4, and I went with d5, the center counter or Scandinavian defense. So he played the main line here, taking. Let's see, I go with knight f6. Queen takes is actually the main move here, but I like this knight f6 line. And then he goes d4. You can see that's the top choice. So I take. And now he plays a really rare move. So the top two choices here are knight to f3, just defending the d-pawn, and c4. So kind of normal moves. Knight f3 also stops me from playing e5, which maybe is an idea in some cases. So anyway, they're both reasonable ways to play. There doesn't seem to be anything too bad with bishop to c4, but I do gain a tempo. And white still has an opening advantage after this, but maybe not quite as strong as it is in other lines. In general, the chess engine, we're out of the opening book here. In general, the chess engine prefers white quite a bit in the Scandinavian defense. So if I've gotten near to equalizing or gotten white down to an ordinary kind of opening advantage, then I've done pretty well so far. So I think it's because of that bishop to c4 move not being the most accurate. And this was a reasonable response, dropping a knight back here, gaining a tempo on it, and then developing my bishop, bringing it outside the pawn chain. So let's see, he went knight e2, went d6, castle, knight to c6, and now he went knight to g3. So a knight to g3 was actually a mistake, and I didn't punish him. But if you want to think about it for a while, what's wrong with knight to g3 here? Okay, after knight to g3, I'm giving the answer away now. If you want time to think about it, you can pause the video. But the problem with knight to g3 is that it leaves this pawn undefended. And, well, black can get a little bit of compensation by taking the bishop. I mean, white can get some compensation. So it's not a straight-up loss of a pawn because he's managed to gain the bishop pair, but really that's not enough. He has a development edge too, I guess, because he's already castled, and I haven't, but I've got a couple pieces out and he only has the bishop developed. So yeah, anyway, not enough compensation there. So I really should have taken that pawn. It's funny, I didn't even notice it during the game. I missed another chance like that later. Although the second time maybe it wasn't so obvious, but that one was pretty obvious. Anyway, I noticed he was hitting my bishop here, and I just dropped it back. Let's see, he played c3, defending his center, defending that pawn now, so it's not hanging anymore. And we just continue developing, so this is pretty good so far. Bishop e3, the chess engine really didn't like that. It wanted to go with knight d2, maybe get the knight out onto the board before putting the bishop out there. Let's see, I castled. He went with f4. Yes, this combination of bishop to e3 and pawn to f4 has left things where the chess engine actually starts to prefer black in this position. So I think it wasn't really the right plan here, but it's not like it's losing either. So it's just maybe not the best play for white. But I do have to be careful. I mean, he has attacking ideas, loosening up my center e6 pawn and opening up the f-file. So there are things going on here I have to be aware of. I ended up going knight e7. I mentioned during the game I was thinking about this move, knight a5, and actually the chess engine likes that. It gives this line, knight a5, knight d2, knight takes b3, pawn takes, and thinks, I can get away with grabbing the bishop pair like that. I was a little more worried about this other line where after knight a5, you might just retreat the bishop to c2, set itself up opposite this bishop, and then leave my knight a little bit stranded. But chess engine says, well, I can go ahead and play knight d5 now with a tempo on this bishop, and black is in good shape in this line as well. So that would have been an interesting way to play, and better, according to the chess engine, than knight e7, although this is okay. Let's see, he goes knight d2. And now I put a knight on d5, supported by the other knight. He decides to trade it off, so I do manage to grab the bishop pair here, and then he plays queen f3. So a very straightforward play from white, setting up for some kind of attack on the F file. Let's see, I just dropped my knight back to F6. I was actually struggling a little bit to find a move here. The chess engine likes queen d7. And then maybe rook over to e1 and b6, getting the pawn away from the glare of the queen, I guess. Or maybe it's preparing c4, because after knight f6, I noticed after I played that move that I was leaving this pawn hanging, but it turns out it's not safe for him to take the pawn. So that, I gave that move a dubious mark there, but basically it's because I should have noticed that I was hanging a pawn here before I moved it, and then made a conscious decision whether to allow that or not. And it turns out this is okay if he, well, let's back up. Instead of knight f6, once again, the chess engine likes queen d7. Yeah, okay, I mentioned that. So knight f6, if he grabs the pawn, this is actually a mistake. I had noticed I could play rook b8 and grab a pawn back immediately, but this is an interesting line the chess engine has. Shows how the chess engine wants to sometimes torture the opponent. Once a piece is out of play, sometimes you can take advantage of it. So knight d5 is a move with tempo, hits the bishop, which is undefended, and it blocks the queen from getting back. So say rook comes over to defend the bishop. Now bishop to d3. I don't know, just I guess that's another tempo move hitting the rook. I'm not sure what it accomplished. And now rook to b8 hitting the queen. Queen takes a7 and not grabbing the pawn, but playing the rook back here. The queen has nowhere to go and has to go to b7, and now queen to d7. This is what I mean about torturing the piece. So now there's this threat of the bishop, of the rook coming over here and actually winning the exchange. So the queen has to run, and now the rook comes out here. And, well, I'll get one pawn back, and the queen has to move again. And maybe I get 2 pawns back. Maybe I win both of them. So, and I just thought that was interesting play from the chess engine. Let's see, instead of, let's see, after knight f6, instead of taking the pawn, he pushed forward. Oh, he dropped his bishop back to f2. I'm not sure what that was for. The chess engine right here likes the move f5. It thinks now is the time for white to take advantage of this setup and push that pawn forward. It doesn't think this is winning for white. It thinks it's still about even or slight edge to black, but it thinks this is white's best play to go ahead and push that forward. I guess white is about equal here. One of the things is that I'm probably going to lose the bishop pair one way or another. Maybe I just take the knight here, or maybe I play queen d7 and he can take off my other bishop at any time. So it seems like white is okay here. Let's see. Anyway, he went bishop f2. So this keeps some advantage to black. Let's see, I go c6 now so that I don't have to worry about this b7 pawn here. He goes knight d to e4, and I trade off once. Oops, sorry, he went knight d to e4. Okay, it would have turned out the same. I take the knight, he takes, and then I drop my bishop back. It wasn't ready to give up the bishop pair at this point. Although at various times it is an idea to trade the light squared bishop for that knight, just to get rid of that piece, which can be pretty strong, and leave me with a dark squared bishop, which is a good bishop in this pawn structure. I have these pawns on light squares, so that would also be a reasonable thing to play. Let's see, he went c4 here, and I went b6. I want to keep his knight out of the c5 square. Seems like this is all okay. He went rook c1. I went queen e7. He went a3, maybe preparing to do something on the queen side. Went rook f to d8. That's a little bit inconsistent. I mean, he kind of set himself up for a kingside attack. But, sometimes if you don't see any way forward, you have to switch to another area of operations. Let's see. He went rook f to e1. So he's switching more to the center and the queen side. Of course, there's always potential problems along this file with that pin. And, maybe he can push one of these pawns forward to get pressure on the e-pawn and take advantage of that pin. So I have to be a little careful here. I stepped out of the way immediately with queen d7. And then now this is the first real mistake of the game. I think there were slight inaccuracies up to this point, but this move is a blunder because it leaves the D pawn hanging, and I can take it with check. So so he doesn't have time to grab the rook here. So anyway, this is now an advantage, a winning edge to black here. Let's see. He went. I went rook e8. I need to get my rook away from his bishop. I went bishop f2. Kicked my queen back, and I took. That's an okay move, but what I missed. Oh, this is the second time I missed a pawn. This pawn over here was just hanging. So twice in this game I had pawns that I could have taken and didn't. And I should have taken that one. Now this bishop takes e4. This is a tactic that actually works. And at the end I can still take the pawn, but I just was completely ignoring the fact that that pawn was hanging. So I dropped my queen back over here, and now it's just a one-pawn advantage. Through that sequence, up until this final move here, I really had more of an edge than just one pawn. I really had a winning edge, but now it's back down to one pawn, and really, white has a game here. It's not all one-sided at this point. Okay, so he played bishop d4, which kicks my queen and defends the pawn, so I no longer have the chance to deal with that, chance to pick up that pawn. Let's see, he goes rook c to e1, doubling his rook on the e file, and once again, you know, this rook on e8 is under defended, so once again he's looking to target my e pawn. So I step out of the way, and he pushed forward with f5 anyway, so that's a mistake. The chess engine says it's okay to be playing over here. Maybe it's white's best chance to have some activity. Black is still better, of course, but the computer would play a little more carefully, pushing the g pawn first and preparing f5. So that's a more reasonable way to play. f5 is just it's kind of giving away a pawn. He gets something. He gets something out of it because he gets this rook here, but it turns out it can't do a whole lot. And in fact, the chess engine thinks he should just drop the rook back instead of moving it forward. But that was his idea, was to open up the e file and get a rook down here. But yeah, the rook can't stay. Well, the rook can stay on the 7th rank, but the other rook can't come in to join it. And once again, the chess engine would really just drop the rook back and keep the pressure on the e file. The rook going to b7 doesn't do a whole lot. So once again, now I'm probably winning here. Let's see. I go h6, taking a little bit of time out to you know, deal with the potential back rank problems, and I let him grab this pawn. This is still okay, but the well, I'm still better, but the chess engine doesn't like this queen h5 move I played. Let's see. It thinks best play from here is rook to c8, chasing the queen back, and then bishop to h2. This is the neat little tactic that I was thinking of earlier when I said there was another chance I had to win a pawn. That wasn't so simple, but this is kind of cool. If he takes the bishop, then I have this check, and I get the bishop back. So anyway, that was there waiting for me, but I missed it, and I played queen h5. Of course, at this point, my opponent was low on time, and I was sort of just making direct threats and seeing if he might not find the best way to defend against it. And that's exactly what happened. The best defense here is bishop to g1. And while I'm still a pawn up, then the chess engine gives me, you know, a +1 or a little more edge. You know, white has been forced back into a slightly passive position, in addition to the fact that I have that extra pawn. Still, it's a game, and it would continue for a while. But after bishop to e5, this loses immediately because I take the bishop and he can't take back. I have a rook coming to the 8th rank, and that's a mate. So the rook is pinned to the back rank. Anyway, he was running out of time. He ran out of time right here before he had a chance to get another move in. But anyway, that would have been a straightforward win from this point. There's no good defense anymore. So interesting game. Hope you guys liked it, and I will see you again soon.